For those who are new to us this afternoon, we have these sessions every couple of months with different focuses that are chosen either by carers or by our planning group, which also features carers and professionals. So it's a co-produced group where we work together to decide what we're going to focus on at any time. Any resources, any links, PowerPoint slides, everything else, and the recording of the session will be available on our website, which is carersspace.nots.com after the session. Okay, so you'll be able to come back to any of the things that we talk about. So the topic today is all around contingency planning and emergency planning for carers, which we identified during conversations at the Carers Space session back in December as something that people would like to discuss further and in more detail. So it's lovely to have so many of you with us, because I'm hoping that as well as everyone finding out about some of the different strategies and schemes and ways around emergency planning and contingency planning, I'm hoping some of you will have experiences that you're wanting to share or ideas that you're wanting to share with the audience, with the wider audience as well. So we've got carers on the call and we've got professionals on the call as well, all of which is really valuable to helping share that information. So as we go through the afternoon, we're going to have Dan Godley speaking to us from Nottinghamshire County Council. He's going to talk to us about the Carers Emergency Card Scheme and how that really works in practice. Then we'll go on to Adam Cottrell, who's joining us. Adam is a solicitor, so he's going to be talking to us with the legal head on about wills and powers of attorney and those sides of things. And if you've got any questions, obviously, for Dan or Adam, we'll take those as we go through. We've also got the lovely Catherine, who's one of our carers. And Catherine's going to talk to us from a personal viewpoint about the importance of these sorts of plans, having plans in place and her experiences with that. We hope we're going to have plenty of time for some open discussion. So as I said, if you can share your experiences, ideas, things that you're aware of, and or ask any further questions of our three speakers today, of course, there'll be plenty of time for that. Then we're going to have a bit of a chat about the adult social care big conversation that's happening at the moment, and talking about opportunities for you to get involved in different co-production projects, and where to find information about that. And then we'll be ready to finish at around 3 o'clock this afternoon. So thank you, everybody. If you've got questions as we're going through the speakers and you want to pop them in the chat, feel free. Otherwise, you'll be able to obviously put your cameras on, put your hands up and shout your questions out, and we'll have that nice conversation. Thank you, everyone. Okay, so we are moving to Dan Godley to start us off with. James, are you okay to share Dan's slides?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Brilliant. I was just wanted to check you got them okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and nice to see you all. Not seen you some faces for a little while, so it's nice to see you today. So I've been asked to come and talk to you about the Carers Emergency Card Scheme that's been operating in Nottinghamshire for a good number of years. I tried to work out how long it has been going for, because it certainly started before I came involved with carers work. So I'm sort of guessing it's probably around 10 years, and it was certainly something Penny Spice. Some people may remember Penny from several years ago, who retired about probably 4 or 5 years ago now. That's something I think that she set up back in the day. So James, can you go on to the next slide? I can explain what it is. So basically, it's quite a basic scheme whereby it's a credit-sized plastic card which is issued to adult carers who apply for them, which is kept on their person, with the purpose being that if an emergency should arise, anybody that finds that card on them, it gives them an emergency contact telephone number, alerts them to the fact that they're actually a carer and they're caring for somebody that will need support. So sorry, I'm getting a lot of feedback noise in the background. I don't know if you, Sarah Craggs, I think. Sorry to put you on the spot. I mean, to mute, thank you. So So basically it's a card that's got emergency contact details on it, and it says I'm a carer and I support somebody that needs support. Please contact this number. And the number on there is the Notts County Council Customer Service Centre, the 0300 500 80 80 number. When somebody calls that number, they'll have those persons' details in terms of who their nominated contacts are, and any other contingency information there that's stored by our customer service centre, so that they can make contact with the relevant people, nominated contacts, to alert them to the current situation. Just as well, that if we're struggling to get that support from anybody nominated, or if for example they live away or something like that, our adult social care can help and assist with some temporary support where necessary. Okay, next slide, please, James. So some of the other key benefits of the card are that it gives carers that peace of mind in an event of an emergency, so that the person that you're caring for will be looked after, and there was some support there whilst ever they're out of action. The one key thing is that this is available free of charge, and it's for any carer that's supporting a person that lives in Nottinghamshire. So the carer doesn't necessarily have to live in the county, but the cared for does. So that's an important point to note. As I've previously mentioned, the contact number is our customer service centre, and it is, although it does go to our main customer service centre during office hours, the calls do divert to our emergency duty team outside those hours. So in effect, you've got that 24-hour, 7 days a week cover. So, you know, it's not saying, well, is it only going to work if the customer service centre is open? No, it isn't. The emergency duty team have got access to the information, and they know what to do if in those circumstances if they're contacted. Other information can be provided about the carer and the cared for, in terms of any medical information, which may include some of the, the particular health conditions, if there are any particular risk if they don't get medication, or or there's other issues, and also if there's any issues around accessing the home, or the risks, etc. So that information can be stored by us and obviously used appropriately. Everything is obviously kept without a doubt is kept secure, and it's obviously confidential. And the only details that's actually on the card is the carer's name and an ID number. Obviously, the ID number is probably our Mosaic system number that the record can be easily accessed, so the details can be go quite easily. As it is a card that is like a credit card, it can be easily stored in someone's wallet or purse. So it is, I suppose a little bit like a donor card. If somebody finds it, in someone's wallet, it's a similar sort of thing where, it's, we found this person, they've got this card in the wallet, and we can make contact with the relevant people. Okay, next slide, please, James. So this is what the card looks like. So I've actually managed to get the graphic. And so the front of the card is the green side. So that's where your name is, up to 25 characters. And there we've got the identification number at the bottom. And then at the back, we've got the contact telephone number. So it's as simple as that, really. But obviously it comes sort of, the one side comes in our sort of with our logo on it, and in our sort of corporate color of sort of mid green. So okay, next slide, please. So how do you apply for one? So it's via the Notts CC Customer Service Centre, so 0300 500 80 80, or you can go via the link and you can complete a form online. I actually went through that this morning. It's really simple and straightforward, and you can nominate up to, well, basically there's no limit on the number of emergency contacts, but you can, the minimum recommended is 2, but all the if you can input all that information, but obviously if you do it by phone, an advisor will go through that with you. Okay, next slide. I think that's probably the last one. Yeah. Any questions? So it's as simple as that. It's quite a simple, straightforward scheme. It's been going many years and lots of carers have applied for it. I've tried to get some numbers from because it's all managed by our customer service centre, and they've not been able to provide me with any stats, but I do know there's a number of carers out there that have got them and feel quite, safe and assured that they've got this as something that would help in an event of emergency. So any questions? I think something.
Yes.
Thank you, Dan. Yeah, there's a few in the chat and Marion as well. So we'll start with Marion and then I'll read out some of the chat ones.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks. Hi, Marion.
Thanks, Dan. I've just looked in my purse at my carer's card, which I can't remember when I had it issued. I can't remember who I put down as contacts.
Yeah.
Is it worth reviewing and updating or getting onto customer services so they can tell me what information's on there?
And I did actually mean to put a bullet point on there actually about if your situation or circumstances change, information changes, just contact us and they will update it. So it's not a problem at all. So
right.
And that actually it tells you that online as well when you do the form. So yeah, absolutely, just contact our customer service centre and they will update it to what your current situation is.
Oh, thanks very much. Thank you.
Okay, no problem.
Brilliant. Thank you. So Adrian said that he first applied for an emergency card in November 2003. So it's been going for.
Oh, it's been going for much longer.
Years, yeah.
Even before I started working for the council. So
yeah. So definitely an established.
20 years then.
Yeah.
Adrian.
And Joe has asked, is the cared for contacted by the county council? And would you be able to record information about a sibling of the cared for or another parent of the cared for who'd be able to assist in case of an emergency?
Yes, absolutely. Whatever information that you need to have, they will store. So really, whatever information that you've got about your situation, they can store that on the system so that they know what the situation is in a case of emergency and who to contact. What would happen normally is that the nominated contacts will be contacted first, and if there's no response or the response isn't sort of forthcoming, it's like, well, I'm sorry, I can't help, I'm sort of 100 miles away or whatever, then obviously we'll step in as appropriate and make contact with the cared for person as we would, in terms of if there's somebody vulnerable there, somebody will make contact. It may even go to a duty worker, and may even need for somebody to go out and see what the situation is. So, all those bases are usually covered in those sorts of situations. Does that answer the?
Is that okay, Joe? Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Dan.
Okay.
And another one from Phil, new to the group. Hi, Phil. Nice to have you. He says he doesn't always carry his wallet. Presumably, hopefully, can the card info be added to emergency information function on a smartphone, for example? So if you set that up on your own phone,
there isn't that facility at the moment, Phil, but actually one of the things that we want to do is to review this scheme, and actually that was something we wanted to sort of mention to the group, really, was as Adrian pointed out, it's over 20 years since we first introduced this, and it hasn't sort of changed at all, and we know it's something that's needed to be looked at for quite a while. So the opportunity with all the work that we're doing around the carer strategy and working with Nottingham City as well, is actually the time's right to try and have the same sort of system across both city and county, but also actually look at how it operates and actually can it do more. And obviously now, 2003 we didn't have smartphones, so actually being able to have it on an app or something like that would obviously bring this this scheme up to date with, you know, to work with sort of more modern technology and linking that way. So, so yes, that's what we want to look at, all those options, Phil. So if anybody got any ideas, then please let us know.
Well, when you're ready to co-produce it, Dan, then
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be co-produced. Yeah.
yeah, we'll get people on
definitely.
board with it. Absolutely.
Yeah, later this year.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Catherine.
Just a suggestion in the interim, you could save the number to ICE in your phone and put something in notes about what the system was and that you were a carer. Might not work, but it might just be something that gives you a bit of comfort till.
Yeah, because emergency services should know to check smartphones for ICE now, shouldn't they? So yeah, hopefully that would work.
Yeah, that we could do. We could look into that, Catherine. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Mary, oh, sorry, Phil, do you want to follow up? Because that was your question. And then Marion wanted to say something, and Joe as well.
Yeah, just to say what Catherine said was really my question. Most smartphones have a facility to put in emergency contact details, and usually it's like free text. So I was thinking you could just add the number and the carer's card number in there, and perhaps a notice to what it is. But the point I was going to make is that in your literature now, you could actually make that point to people. That this is something, as long as it's clear what function you're putting it into the emergency contact details. I think that could be quite useful, perhaps.
Yeah.
No, thank you, Phil. And actually, we're just in the final throes of finalising an updated carers information booklet. So the timing's perfect. We can just probably have that in before it goes to print. So yeah, thank you.
Marvellous, thank you. Okay, Joe.
Yeah, just that I think Phil's suggestion of putting it in the lock screen part of the phone is probably the best, because most of us keep our phones locked. And if something was to happen to myself, nobody's going to be able to access the ICE. So, yeah, and again, I think if you're doing this carers booklet or something like that, it may be a good idea to specifically suggest that to people.
Yeah. No, thank you. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Just to clarify that this function on phones is something that can be accessed without having the lock screen information. So it is specifically designed for emergency services. And in fact, if you are updating it, it might be an idea to sort of show the typical, be clear about what the typical function is, particularly for iPhones and Android phones. Because it's a useful thing to have anyway, because it includes all your sort of your own personal contact information, next of kin and all that kind of thing.
That's great. Thank you very much. Marion.
I just wondered if there were bangles, bracelets, like people who've got allergies or diabetic or something like that. Whether, because I would always have, if there was one, I would have that on when it would always be there. But I don't know whether they're produced or whether I would just have to have a bog standard bangle that had it stamped with that detail. And there isn't anything currently, though.
No, it's just the card, unfortunately, at the moment, Marion. But again, that's something as part of when we develop this and co-produce a new carers emergency. Well, it won't just be a card, but there'll be other ways. That might be something as well that could be part of that scheme as an option. I don't want a card, but I'll have a bangle.
Or a key fob, or
a key fob or something.
Or a locket.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've got the carer's number on my key, on the key fob. That was part of getting the card. Or I don't know, it's 17 years ago that I got one, but I'm sure our details are not up to date.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Marion. Sarah.
Hi, folks.
Hi, Sarah.
I'm sorry, I'm having real trouble with my computer and Zoom today. So if I'm causing a problem, I'm really sorry, everybody. It's just a thought, Dan, really. It's brilliant that you're thinking of updating the stuff, and there can be some work to co-produce. I just wondered, with updating the page about and including the emergency contact information on phones, whether anybody'd be interested in just checking what that looks like when you've written
Yeah,
that
yeah.
section, because that might, if there's
Yeah.
a volunteer that might be happy to have a quick read and say, does this make
Does this make
have
sense?
we got this
Yeah.
right? Only because if you're a numpty like me, anything technological, I'm like, I'm going to write it wrong. So it's just a thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, no, that's a good idea, Sarah. I'm going to talk to Tom Knowles in our customer service and see what, you know, how we can facilitate it in terms of getting that right, and then just updating the details in the booklet or the page for the booklet, and then just get somebody to sense check it, and then it actually works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fabulous. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
So any further questions right now for Dan? If not, then don't worry, we can come back, and I'm sure if Dan, if
yeah.
you're happy to stay
I'll
on,
stay
then
for the duration. Yeah.
we can come back and bring some more thoughts into that later on. But thank you so much, Dan, for sharing that information with us.
No problem.
And we will move to Adam. If you're ready, Adam.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Brilliant, fantastic. So as Helen said in my kind of introduction, I am a solicitor. Don't hold that against me. I am here to kind of just have a chat about things that you might want to think about for planning for the future. In particular, the importance of making a will and looking at lasting powers of attorney. Making a will, a lot of people think is quite a daunting thing to do. It really isn't. But there are 2/3 of the people in this country that do not have a will in place. So it's quite a shocking statistic, and it is an important document. It's about making sure that the people you're leaving behind are able to be looked after properly and in the way that you'd want them to be looked after. I don't know, like I say, in terms of rough idea, I'm assuming most people will have a will here because of the fact that they are looking after and caring for people. So they kind of want to make sure everything is covered. But in terms of wills themselves, broadly speaking, there are 3 types of wills that you can do. The first type is a very simple, straightforward will whereby you can leave your assets to named individuals, just leave them outright to them. And that is fine, that's not a problem at all. But there are other things that may be necessary, particularly for carers, in terms of if you are leaving a care forward behind, if you die or pass away before the cared for, then it may be that them inheriting a sum of money is not necessarily the best thing for them. So another type of will that is very popular is something that we call a tenants in common will. And what that type of will, it relates to your property. So if you own a property and you are in a couple, what you can do is you can change the way you own your property to something called tenants in common. And what that means is you each own a defined 50% share of your property. Should one of you have to go into a care home, for example, then the local authority can only look at half the house. They will not look at the other person's half. So should the person who has not gone into care pass away, and then the surviving person is still in a care home, that half of the property of the person that has passed away will pass to the people in their will. It will not go to the person in the care home, and therefore it will not be used for care fees. So it's quite a good planning option, particularly, like say, if your house is your main asset. It's a lot of people, the house is the main asset, and actually it is something that a lot of people do to protect and make sure that it is passing on to people in terms of beneficiaries, children, grandchildren, whoever, so making sure they are going to get something from your estate, because you've worked hard to get to a stage where you're at. You don't want it to go to an organisation, you'd rather go to family members. Okay. The final type of will is what I call a family trust will. Sometimes you may have heard them as something called a bloodline will or something like that. What it is, it protects half of all jointly owned assets, not just the property. Okay. And even if you're not in a couple, you can still do this type of will. And when you pass away, your assets will go into what we call a discretionary trust. Now that sounds quite a complicated term. All it means is that the people who are benefiting from the money going into the trust, there has to be more than one person to make it discretionary. And it is at your trustees, the people you've appointed discretion, who gets what money at what point. So if you have got a beneficiary that has some kind of disability or is living with dementia, or is not able to manage finances themselves, and maybe they're on benefits or they're in a care home, it would not make sense to send them a lot of money in one go to hit their bank account. It could stop their benefits. It may be too much for them kind of emotionally to be able to deal with money. And so therefore you're appointing people you trust to manage these finances for them, and they get the money as and when they need it. So it is quite an all-encompassing will. It is quite a complex will in terms of the will itself that's drawn up, but actually it is important. It's a very flexible document. So it covers as many eventualities you possibly can think of in the future. Obviously, we can't cover everything. We don't know what the future holds entirely, but it's about being able to be adapted to the situation that the people you've left behind are in, and the trustees being able to make decisions that you would have made to provide for those beneficiaries at the right time. Okay, so broadly speaking, they are the three types of wills, and I am a solicitor. I am going to recommend that if you haven't got a will, you should go and speak to a solicitor about it. Okay, particularly if you are going to be doing a more complex will like the tenants in common will or the discretionary, the family trust will, because of the fact that actually the kind of will packs you can pick up from WH Smith or you can do online or anything like that, they won't cover those kind of scenarios. And the last thing that you would want to do is leave a mess behind that somebody has got to pick up and try and sort out, and then they would have to go to a solicitor, and it's going to create a lot of problems in terms of time and cost. So for the sake of going, and it's not a frightening thing, it's a very kind of easy, straightforward thing. You would have a meeting with a solicitor, they would take all the information from you, they would provide you with a draft document with explanation letters explaining how it all works, and then once you are happy, you will go and see the solicitor again, get it all signed, and it can be done in a matter of a couple of weeks. Okay, so that is the will side of things. Now, a will obviously is an important document, but that kind of deals with things after you've passed away, whereas lasting powers of attorney are equally important, but for the fact that obviously while you're still alive. Now, a lot of carers that I speak to focus on a lasting power of attorney for the cared for and not themselves. And I'm here to say that actually you are correct to kind of look at lasting power of attorney for the cared for, but also what if something happened to you?
Yeah.
Who is going to be able to manage your affairs? So it's equally as important to think about yourself with this side of things. And lasting powers of attorney, the way you have to think about them, they are insurance documents. Hopefully you never need them, but they're just in case. There are two types. One is for financial matters and one is for health and welfare matters. Both equally as important as each other, but for different reasons. The financial one is the practical one. It does what it says on the tin. You appoint people you trust to manage your finances for you. And that's all kind of encompassing in terms of financial matters. So if you needed somebody to go to the bank for you, or if you needed somebody to speak to a utility company, even if you needed somebody to sell the house for you, if you were not able to do so, your attorney under a lasting power of attorney for financial matters would be able to do that for you. So it's important you appoint people you trust, because obviously they would look after things if you weren't able to do so. The key thing to know about the financial lasting power of attorney is a lot of people think lasting powers of attorney will take effect after you've lost mental capacity. With the financial one, that's not the case. So it can be used as soon as it comes back from the court registered. So if physically you can't get out and about, but mentally you can still make all the decisions, then you will tell your attorneys to go and do all the running around, fetch all the information in, and they will provide it to you, and then you will make the decision and they will carry out those actions for you. Okay, so very, very useful document. There is no kind of age limit of when you should get a lasting power of attorney in place. A lot of people think it's when you get older, you should be thinking about these things. I've got them in place. You never know what could happen. So like I say, it is an insurance document. Hopefully you never need them, but they're there just in case. Moving on to the health and welfare lasting power of attorney. And please stop me if I'm going too quickly. I'm just obviously conscious of time, and we can always have another session if we need to discuss these things in more detail. But moving on to the health and welfare lasting power of attorney, this is a little bit different. So even though it goes off to the court to be registered at the same time as the financial lasting power of attorney, the health and welfare lasting power of attorney can only be used if you have been deemed to no longer have mental capacity to make decisions regarding your own healthcare. And what I would say to you is, in terms of the health and welfare lasting power of attorney, Some solicitors you will go and see will just leave it completely blank. Don't do that, okay? Put as much information in the document as possible, because it is guidance for your attorneys that if they are dealing with carers, care providers, doctors, paramedics, there is something written to show what you would want to happen in those situations. And we cover everything. So end of life treatment, whether you've got any views on resuscitation. So it's all the fun stuff, but it's important. Whether you've got any views on resuscitation, whether you'd like to stay at home for as long as possible before going into a care home. That's a big one. A lot of people would like to stay home for as long as possible. If they weren't able to tell anybody that, then their attorneys would have a much stronger voice to make sure that they could stay at home if it was feasible for them to do so. And then we also include everyday kind of things. So what kind of diet you have, what you do for enjoyment, what if you've got a particular religion, and obviously your religion affects your kind of daily life, your manner of dress. It's all of that information will go into that document, because it is essentially a health and welfare lasting power of attorney is a combination of a living will and an advance directive. So it combines the two documents together all in one. And like I say, for personal reasons, it is quite an important document in terms of how you'd like to be looked after. Okay. In terms of doing the lasting power of attorney, you do have to have mental capacity in the first instance to be able to do it. So if you have lost capacity, you would not be able to do a lasting power of attorney. But the alternative is something called court of protection. And I'm sure you've heard of court of protection in terms of banded around and what's involved with that. But essentially what that is that somebody would apply on your behalf to the court of protection to become your deputy. Okay. And again, you can apply for a financial deputyship and a health and welfare deputyship. With the health and welfare deputyship, it is more difficult to get a health and welfare deputyship orders from the court than it would be if you were doing a lasting power of attorney for health and welfare. And the reason for that is the court of protection do not necessarily like to get involved with health and welfare decisions. So more often than not, the only kind of applications that will go through for a health and welfare deputyship is if you are applying as a parent for an adult child who is not able to make decisions regarding their own healthcare. If you are applying for your spouse, or if you're applying for a parent, then it's unlikely, not impossible, but unlikely that you would get a health and welfare deputyship order through from the court. Okay. Deputyship is very much a last resort. If you can do the lasting power of attorney, get them done, because time and cost is a lot cheaper and it takes a lot less time. Whereas with a deputyship, it's very involved, very complex. With a lasting power of attorney, you don't have to use a solicitor. You can do it yourself online. You can phone the court up, they'll send the paperwork out in the post to you. And if you are good with paperwork, you will be able to fill it in. But with a deputyship, and again, this is nothing against anybody, it's just because of the procedure involved, I would recommend that you would have to use a solicitor in that instance. And you're going to be looking at, by the time you're done for a deputy application, about £3,000 by the time you're finished. So again, not a cheap option, but it is an option if the lasting power of attorney is not available. Okay. And I'm obviously, like I said, I'm conscious of time. So if anybody has got any questions, please ask away now, or yes, Catherine.
If somebody has had deputyship appointed by the local authority, so they have a deputy that manages their finances for them, but the deputy isn't particularly acting necessarily in the best interest. So for instance, they've let benefits, savings build up, so it affects the benefits. How easy would it be to unpick that sort of deputyship?
It's not easy.
I thought you might say that.
But if you have any concerns about the way a deputy is acting, you can report it to the Court of Protection and they will do their investigation. So as part of the process of doing a deputyship application, you have to pay what's called a security bond. And that bond is a sum of money that will cover some of the court's costs if they need to get involved with investigating a matter. So the court will do a thorough investigation. It will take a number of months for them to investigate it. And if the court are not satisfied with the deputy kind of managing the finances moving forward, they will suggest that that deputy is removed. And if you are the person that has raised the concerns and you are wanting to be the deputy, you could then subsequently apply to become the deputy for that person.
Sorry, what was the thing that you said they report to
The Court of Protection.
But what was the other thing that they've got to pay a fee or something?
It's called a security bond. So
Security
that's
bond,
when you
sorry.
do the initial application. As part of the process, you always pay a security bond, and that just depend on various factors in terms of what the size of somebody's estate is, how likely it is that the court is going to need to be involved in matters moving forward. And they say it does cover some of the court's costs, not all of them.
But it's going to cost somebody money to challenge it.
It is, yes, absolutely, because it could be that ultimately it could be that if it got to such a stage where the deputy that is being challenged again kind of objects to the challenge, then it will be heard in front of a judge, and you're going to be looking at thousands of pounds to challenge that.
Thank you, that's really helpful.
Okay. Anybody else? Yes,
Marion.
Yeah. My husband, we've got a power of attorney for him. It's just as you described, the cared for is all covered. I went through the process but didn't register it, intended to. It's still there in a very nice little folder. And it's 13 years since we carried that out.
Mm-hmm.
Does it invalidate that?
No.
Form? Can I just ring up? Is it the Court of Protection or?
So it'd be the Office of the Public Guardian.
Office of the Public Guardian.
Yes.
And send it to them.
You just send it to them. Yeah, absolutely. You'll send it with the registration fee, and I'll explain.
Which is how much?
So it depends. It depends on your individual income. Well, the person that is making the power of attorney. So if that person has over £12,000 gross in income, then the court fee is £82 per document. So if you're doing the health and the financial one, it would be £164. If the income is less than £12,000 gross, then it's £41 per document. And if the person is on means tested benefits, there is no court fee to pay.
Okay.
So potentially, yeah. Sorry, Marion. Yeah.
It hasn't run out, or
no. Not at all. So as long as it was signed at the time, it's completely fine. And all you would need to do is you would need to apply. And there is a separate piece of paper that you'll need to sign to say you're now applying for it to be registered at the court.
Okay. And they would give.
They would provide that to you. Yes. So if you phone them up, they'll be able to send the paperwork out to you that you need to complete.
Okay. Thanks very much.
No problem.
Personal consultation. Where's your fee?
It's all free of charge.
Oh, I like it. I like it.
That's why I'm not a typical solicitor.
Thank you.
Hello, Alice, by the way. I don't know if you know Amanda at all. Amanda Topping.
I do.
Yes, I thought you might. So Amanda is my secretary now. So I'll let her know that I've seen you today.
Right, okay. Yes, I used to work for the firm that Adam works for now.
Yes.
A long time ago, I said, before he was born.
Oh, lovely. No,
you're no longer in Fry Lane.
We know Adam. We know Adam because Adam does the carers legal clinics over in Derbyshire. So as you know, our partner organisation is Derbyshire Carers Association. So that's how we managed to get Adam to come along and talk to us very kindly today.
Absolutely. So
just for our carers over there.
Yeah, and I mean, Helen, like I say, it's something that we may look to do at some point in the future in Nottinghamshire as well. I'll explain what that is, but essentially you can book in to have a free half-an-hour appointment with me to discuss any legal matter, and it's completely free of charge. And then obviously, like I say, you can then take that information away and do with it whatever you want to. Okay, and if it's a legal sector that I don't deal with, I will be able to put you in touch with somebody that will be able to assist you.
So when Adam says of the carers that I speak to, this and this, he does speak to lots of them. So
yeah, so I've worked with Derbyshire Carers for 5 years now, and I say I do this free service the first Thursday of every month, and like I say, I do a lot of events with them. So yes, I've worked with carers a lot, and this is the area that I do specialise in.
Adam, if people have further questions that they'd like us to put to you, can we do that via Carer Space? Is that okay?
Absolutely, definitely.
Lovely. So yeah, just feel free to get in touch, folks, if you've got anything else, because there's a lot of information there. Obviously, you can watch it all back, but there was a
And
lot.
I know what it's like. It's a lot of information I've thrown at you. You might think later on, oh, what did Adam say? Or I should have asked that question. Please, by all means, just get into Aerospace, and I'm happy to come back to you at any time.
That'd be marvellous. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Adam. Right, so we will move to Catherine. Catherine's going to share some of her experiences with us from a carer's perspective. Thank you, Catherine.
Thanks very much. Why is it important for carers to have a contingency plan or an emergency plan? Well, I think it's the sort of thing that keeps us awake at night, usually about 3 in the morning. What happens if you're not able to support your loved one? And I think it's sort of hits everybody who's a carer at some time or another. And clearly what Dan's been talking about and Adam's been talking around, they all, it's part of a contingency plan. What happens if, from a financial point of view, with leaving money to loved ones, etc. And you can't necessarily plan for everything in a contingency plan, because we never know what's coming, do we? But at least something like having the emergency card is a start, isn't it? You may have thought about things as I do, and you've not necessarily written anything down. And I think it's really hard to start writing something down, because there are templates that you can get, and I've shared one that I found with James, so he can share that with you, because there's quite a lot of information you'd need to share. And for me personally, my son has care support via an agency, so they already hold lots of information. So if you've ever done that, you will have to put down all about medical treatment, likes, dislikes, foods they like, all of those things. So in a way, that's a bit like having a bit of a contingency plan that could possibly be shared with others when needed. It might not contain everything though. And for those of you who employ PAs, or you're just doing it all yourself, possibly nobody knows exactly what it is your loved one would need in the event of something happening. You need to consider what's really important to the person you care for. And when you actually start writing things down, I think it'd probably be quite scary how much information needs to be there. And because I've already done that with care support, it takes a few hours to do, and you've probably done it when you've applied for PIP assessments and all of, or DWP for benefits, that you actually write down an awful lot of information in those things. But can you imagine if something happens to you and people don't hold that information, and how distressing that would be to your loved one, to you? Somebody may not know what they like to eat, what medication they need and when they need it, and everybody's scrabbling around trying to give the support that's needed. So I've learned that it's something that gives me some reassurance, but it also reassures my son. And although he lives in his own bungalow and he has care support, he still relies on me for lots of different things. So when I recently went away with my husband, we would FaceTime every day, so we kept that contact up. But I had a friend of mine who lives locally to my son on standby in case he needed some support, and he also has an assistance dog. So often the support's needed because the dog needs some veterinary care that hasn't been planned. But my friend Helen wasn't feeling very well for the second week, so she contingency planned and set up another friend of ours to be on standby. So you can see how one thing leads to another. And fortunately, neither of them were needed. But I think for some of us as well, it's quite hard to ask people who might be able to step in. And you might be amazed that at short notice, if people are available, they might be able to support you with your caring role. But you may not have anybody that you can turn to, and Dan's touched on that with the emergency card. So when you have your carers assessment, you could have those conversations with the social care worker who's undertaken the assessment and talk to them about your concerns. So for instance, I was in a meeting with carer and a social worker, and this gentleman was saying, I really worry about, sorry, was somebody saying something? I really worry about what will happen when I can't look after my son any longer. And the social worker talked about living carers, that could be a possibility. And the relief on this gentleman's face when he thought that his son could stay in his own home and have people come in and care for him was really powerful. And, you know, hopefully your social care worker will want to talk to you about those things, but things like respite all come from your carer's assessment. So please do have those conversations with your social care worker. And you may be thinking, well, I'm hale and hearty, I'm going to carry on. But what if you were unwell, you got flu, you got a serious bout of COVID, you had to go into hospital? There might be another family emergency that takes you away from that caring role and puts you in another caring role. There could be some issues with current care arrangements. And, you know, we all have to think about the longer term care solutions. So hopefully writing down information that's very relevant to the person you care for will support anybody, whether it's somebody you know or some agency that's had to be appointed to support that person. And that will take away a lot of your concerns. And, you know, there may be people that you can identify who could do very short-term things, but not longer. So have those conversations. And I'd say there's a template that I Googled and found, and there might be better ones out there, but it just shows you what sort of information could be very relevant for your loved one. And actually, if you do employ your own PAs, writing down that sort of information for them would be really useful. So I'd make sure adult social care have a copy of it, and that any carers you employ have a copy of it, and any agencies and any family members that are pertinent. But you do have to remember to keep it updated as well, because inevitably circumstances change. So I hope that gives you some idea of why it's important to do it. And I think we all do the manana thing, and we think, oh, we'll be all right for now, but tomorrow will come at some stage. So it will be really useful for you. Any questions? Dan, he's got his hand up.
Dan, yeah.
Just take it off on mute. Now, the Carers Hub actually should encourage carers to complete an emergency plan when they register. So this was something that sort of came to light in the early days of the pandemic, and it was something actually that came down from government to basically say, you know, your carer support providers should be encouraging carers to complete an emergency plan, because obviously, I think obviously what brought it to the forefront, if someone goes down with COVID, you know, how a carer goes down with COVID, how they're going to, you know, what's going to happen to the person that they're caring for. So it did bring that to the forefront. So the hub should be doing that, and they've assured me that they do promote it with carers when they register with the service. I do have a template of the one that the Carers Hub use. I'm not aware it's been updated since, so this was from 2020 obviously, but I can share that with you, and obviously people can use that and complete it. I think one of the things that the hub, because obviously one of the things we wanted to do was to try and get the hub to monitor how many was completed, but I think, you know, the information is given to them, to the carer, and then they go away and complete it. What we've asked for is for the hub support workers to support carers to actually fill it in and keep it as a live document. But obviously the document there, the plan, the document is kept, is really the carer's own sort of property and responsibility. So it's, you know, it's really up to the carer to keep that up to date. So sorry, I'll just silence that call.
Thank you, Dan. Yeah.
Yeah, so we can share that. Sorry, I just put.
Yeah, that would be great, Dan. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay.
There's also been recent communication out to GP practices to say they want carers to be asked if they've got emergency plans in place, and for that to be logged on your GP record as well. So that's come out from the NHS. So that's something that has gone out to GP surgeries. So if you're at the doctors and they know you're a carer, and they ask you if you've got your emergency plans in place, then that's why they're asking, because they need to know as well that things are there. And you'd probably be asked, what does it look like? So it would be, right, okay, I've got an emergency card registered. You could even ask them to log the number, and that way, if they're the ones who receive the call first, they can activate your emergency plan, if that makes sense. Okay. Marion?
Sorry, I'm hogging this meeting. It's really opportune.
No, it's good.
I passed out at the dentist the other week, and ambulances were mentioned, but I think that was enough to make me rally round, and I was all right after a bit of time. But it brought into sharp focus that, yes, I can have all those plans, and what a great thing that I should have done ages ago is to write down things that I can arrange now. But John would be absolutely helpless for quite some time before things would be put in place. He can do nothing for himself if I'm away from home. And I just wondered if anybody else has has had that experience of knowing how to cope with that situation, when it wouldn't automatically be that it's not a known emergency. It's not like COVID and doctors come and told you've got to be in bed or anything like that. It's something that's very sudden and unexpected. Or if I'm in the car somewhere, and I just worry about who could be contacted quickly enough, and how I would have that information with me, or to say, you must get back to my husband.
Suppose that would be the emergency card, wouldn't it? Dan?
Yeah,
I've got that, but it might be 2 or 3 hours before somebody got back to John, and that's what worries me.
Do you have a neighbour? Do you have a key safe? That's another thing.
Yes, got all of those things, but it's that amount of time before all those things come into play is what worries me. He's got a life alarm, but he wouldn't necessarily know that I haven't come home at a set time or something. I'm on my own here, and that's the bit that worries me. It's that gap between all those sensible things that you said put in place. How do you manage the unexpected?
So if you've got a lifeline alarm, is there any way, Dan, that those people can be notified in the event of something happening, rather than just pressing the button? Or
It's interesting you should raise that, Catherine, because at the big conversation event on Tuesday at Mansfield, and I did see you there, and I'm sorry I didn't say hi. Sorry. but yes, there was a discussion on our table about that bit around what makes you feel safe, and do you feel safe in your own home? And I was talking to one of the ladies on the table, and asked her, about, because she said she felt really anxious at night, and this person actually lived on her own, and and she said, well, I've got a lifeline, but the thing is with the lifeline, as I currently understand it, is that just will, if you press the button on the lifeline, that will put you through to the contact centre, but they'll either just call a family member or emergency service.
Yeah.
What I do need to explore, and I did say this at the session on Tuesday, because obviously we've got our assistive technology team, and Mark Douglas is the guy. He manages that team, and there's obviously all sorts of different assistive technology that's available, and obviously it's changing and updating all the time. However, I just need to check out with Mark what if there's other things that are available in that way, that if somebody's just anxious, if they can press a button or call or contact somebody, that or there's another emergency where you need something quite quickly to happen, is that something that is then able to be facilitated through some of the assistive technology stuff that we either currently got or something that we can develop if we haven't.
Are there any wardens? Because I know in Cheshire East, when my mother-in-law had assistive technology, a warden would go round. So if the bed sensor, because she was getting up, she had Alzheimer's, she'd be walking around. If she didn't return and they couldn't pick her up on any of the other sensors, a warden would go around, use key safe and go in and check on her.
I think maybe in warden aided sort of
no, this was a private.
Oh, was it? Oh, right. No, I'm not aware, I'm not aware of.
Might be worth you talking to Cheshire East.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we'll have a chat with Mark.
Whether they still do that, but because this was some years ago, but it was very effective.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we do have the emergency response service as well, but normally there's usually a package of care that's part of that. So a worker would go out at night and support, where necessary.
Well, I know John can't do anything. He can't be left alone at night. And I go to the theatre and I go to various events organised by Miss Sarah Cragson, things like that. And some things can kick off in that time.
Sure. Yeah.
And that is my overriding worry. I can do all of those things that you've talked about, but that does not solve people realising, even with the carers card, how necessary it would be to be there. And would living well, aging well, or somebody send somebody to be overnight with him, for instance, in the short term before other things could be put in place. I just think, it's the immediate need that I'm worried about.
Social care worker about it.
Sort of, right, Lisa Kemp has sort of given me a person, and Sarah Craggs is a social worker.
Hand up. I'm sure she can help.
Unofficially.
She's
Sarah,
dying to speak.
I've got lots of friends. It's the time taken, and if they've actually been contactable.
I've got something to add to that, but I'll let Sarah go first.
Let Sarah come in for now.
Hi, and I don't want to take over the session, Marion, for everybody, but I suppose the stuff that was going through my head is that sense for you. If you might have your card on you, you might have your phone on you. What do you need to do to make sure that
people have a look at it?
Somebody actually look at it. And what was going through my head, really, because I know, yes, we can update what's on your, we can talk to people and we can update your record at the other end of social care to get that kicked in. But I guess the bit I was hearing from you is what's happening around emergency services knowing they need to look for a card or look for something, and what's happening at customer services done to make sure people know that they need to respond to that quickly. That was the bit.
Yeah,
I got that right.
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah.
If I got that right, Dan, I don't know whether you have got any information about that, and if we haven't, maybe that's what we need to.
Yeah, I think
find out.
All I know is that if a contact's made and they act upon it immediately, but that's that I've just had that sort of verbally from sort of Tom to say, if we get those calls, the worker will respond to that straight away. But haven't got any guidance or assurance other than
Okay.
his word. But that's something we can check out just to make sure that that is some sort of assurance that that is what happens and what the response times are. You know, a bit more detail about actually when you get this call, what do you do? How quickly do you respond? You know, is there some
Yeah.
guidance around
Yeah.
how quickly you should respond, etc., etc. You know.
I suppose two things. So Marion, I'm quite happy to have a conversation with you about yours and see if we can get that.
Yeah.
What we've got
thank
on
you.
your bit at your end, we can do that. But the other bit, Dan, was if you are going to be reviewing the card thing, maybe there is something in that about and updating it, how we, you know, how getting the message out to just making sure emergency services know to look for more than just what might be on a phone, I guess. Might be part of the work that needs to be done too.
Yeah.
When that happens, I know it's a bit of a while off yet.
Okay.
Lovely. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Phil.
Yeah, thanks. I just kind of wanted to reiterate that point, because we're in a quite a tricky position that I'm the only carer for my partner, and he has really very complex needs, and there is nobody else who knows what those needs are. Now, I did start to put together a sort of emergency plan. But okay, I can put in the very high level stuff, but if I was going to put down, you know, all the details of the care he needs, it would run to pages, and I'm conscious that nobody would have the time to read that. And yet also he would need help. He's completely bedbound and dependent on me for meals, toileting, etc. He would need that sort of sorting within hours, within 2 or 3 hours, really. Now we haven't, before COVID, we had carers coming in precisely so that there were some people who knew his routine at least to some extent. But we stopped that with COVID because we're actually both vulnerable. I have immunosuppression. He's extremely weak and is in bed. He's not actually even had a vaccination because we didn't know what the side effects would be. So we've got no other people coming in and no other people knowing the routine. And the problem I have is, okay, I can do a plan, a contingency plan, but what do I put in it? And is there any point? You know? I assume what would happen is the emergency services hopefully would arrive. He's got an emergency button and I've got a carer's card. So I assume very quickly the emergency services would arrive and take him to hospital. But that would be very severe for him because he's extremely light tolerant. He has to lie in a completely darkened room, for example. He's very sensitive to temperature, so we have his room at 25 degrees. So, you know, just taking him to hospital would be a nightmare, I think. So I don't know, does anybody have any advice on?
Anybody? Right, we've got Catherine and Sarah ready to try to offer some.
Oh, Catherine.
Catherine.
I think I understand why you stopped having carers come in, but I think it's possibly something you need to think about again. If carers are wearing appropriate PPE, so CQC regulations have changed because of your health conditions. Certainly look at them still wearing PPE, which should protect both you and them, because it sounds as though you could do with the break, and respite, whatever form that comes in, is really important. And it does sound to me like you need a carers review, and those conversations need to happen, really.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but I disagree. Because I think even a cold for my partner, Gorb, his name is, I think even a cold would be very serious for him. He can't even sit up. He lies completely flat in bed. If he has too much light, it triggers sneezing fits, and even just a short fit can really drain his energy. I mean, we did have carers. We actually had carers in the law before COVID, but then I realised it's not just COVID; it's colds and flu. Could be extremely serious for him. So I was thinking, well, you know, if we self-isolate, then, you know, the risk to me is low, risk to him is low. I don't feel a particular need for respite. I mean, friends and family talk about it. But to be honest, if we had carers in and I went out, well, where am I going to go? Because if I go to a coffee shop, again, I'm putting myself at risk and I'd just worry even more. So, yeah, I'm not asking for a solution. In fact, I just, you know, I came on the call thinking, well, somebody might have an idea here. But I do hear what you're saying, Catherine, that it is a balancing act here.
Absolutely, and nobody can walk in your shoes, Phil, and
Yeah.
make those decisions for you. But it may be a conversation. It may be a conversation with your partner's healthcare professionals as well. You know, I find those with my son's condition very useful, just to talk to somebody about those things and what's coming and all of that. But perhaps this will be the start of a conversation. I don't know, and I really feel for you because you're obviously a wonderful partner and wonderful carer, and you have my admiration.
Thanks. I think what I must do is put at least the basics together by way of an emergency.
Yeah.
To start,
Yeah, and get that.
it's better than nothing,
Mm.
and I think that's
Yeah.
the thing, isn't it? And sometimes it's hard to write it because it brings everything really real to you.
Yeah, that's a very good point, because I almost didn't come on this call because it is a real trigger for me.
I'm really pleased you have, because it's
Yeah.
lovely to meet you, and you know, it's a connection, isn't it?
We actually had a visit from a nurse, I think his title was, from the PICS team at Beeston. And he was the one who triggered, this was about a year ago, he was the one who talking to me about emergency plans and saying I should set something up, and he would register it on the, I can't remember what it's called, but the doctors, the medical system.
Yeah, and System 1 or something on
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Oh, that's really good that they're doing that. PICS is Primary Integrated Care
Service, yeah.
Sarah, do you want to come in?
Yeah, apologies. I know you're picking up some background noise from me when I'm speaking. I don't know what's wrong with my headset, so I'm really sorry. I guess the bit, Phil, all I wanted to, I think it's really, you know, I have a son who really struggles with bits of stuff linked to autism, so has loads of sensory stuff that makes it really hard if there's an emergency. And to be honest, when he was quite ill, I was just overwhelmed about trying to get information down and where do I start and what do I do. And one of the things that we did was just put together literally a one page piece of information with a photo on it, the top most 5 important things somebody needed to immediately know. And the top 5 things that were important to that individual, and that top 5 things included who were the people that needed to be spoke to, and how quickly they needed to be spoke to. Although it wasn't answer to everything, it did make me feel like I'd made a start of having the right people involved, and I'm more than happy to send you a copy of that if it's helpful for you to think about what would be on yours.
Yeah, thanks for the offer. I think I'm okay. I mean, I can write down, but I think one of the things that's been putting me off is the feeling of, okay, if I can do an overview of you know, the key things, but almost, is there any point? Because you know, his needs come down to just things like how he moves in bed. Just changing his pillowcase is quite a complicated procedure. because he has
I-
severe neck and head pains.
I would actually say, Phil, that's probably the reason it's needed more. If I'm honest.
Yeah,
But I
but
think it can feel overwhelming to do it all, and I would start with what are the absolute things that he and you would want somebody to know, and then add to
Yeah.
it, rather than feeling you've got to do it all at once, maybe.
Baby steps, definitely. It can be very overwhelming otherwise.
okay, you've motivated me to do it, I think.
Oh, good.
Marianne.
I remember in the early days of having the carer space stuff and having a leaflet with it, people saying, put a sticker on the front door, which I think is still there actually, to say that I'm carer. And in the fridge, if that's where your medication's kept, but having a label on a cupboard or saying where John's medication's kept, things like that. Because I know that when we've had friends that have looked after him for me, it's got more serious than that now. I can't. It's a big responsibility to leave him with a friend. Giving them a detailed plan of where to find things like continence needs and all those sorts of things that are eminently practical and comforting for John to know, because he does not know where it's kept. And yes, he can talk, but he'll often not say what he really needs. And so having something, you'll find this here, catheters are kept there, and all that sort of thing. Well, I leave all those out if I go out for a day, it's all left ready if we need it. And we now, with the little bit of respite money I get, we have a carer to cover. But he needs to know where all those things are. And it's like when you go babysitting for somebody, as we used to do as students, it was an absolute nightmare if you needed something that you didn't know where to look for. You feel very useless. So I talking to myself here because I did know about things like that being important, and I think that's one of the things I will start doing is mapping it out and making sure that John knows.
That's great, Marianne. No, there's information, like Catherine said, where you can find plans and download templates and things online. There's other things, other schemes that we can share information on, such as the message in a bottle scheme.
Yes, yes.
Keep in the fridge.
And you can put
If
it in
there's
the
a
fridge.
fire, it'll still be there.
A booklet of information next to the phone or something like that that alerts
that
people
would be
to
helpful,
key
really
numbers or
helpful.
key things like dietary requirements or anything that you know really needs to be there. So yeah, we'll make sure that we've got links going out for the things that we've discovered when we were researching for this session as well, and then anyone can add more things in too. So really appreciate everybody's input this afternoon. Has anyone got any further questions for anybody whilst we're on the topic of contingency and emergencies?
Just to let you know,
someone just knocked on my door, so the dog's telling me that someone.
I was just going to say, Helen and James, I've just forwarded you the Carers Hub, Carers Emergency Plan template. So whether we've got time just to share that on screen, or whether drop it in the chat, or whether you just want to send it out with everything else later. Anyways, I've sent it. It's there if you want it.
Lovely, thank you. I'm just going to go to the door, but James and Sarah, would you be all right to talk about the big conversation just for a moment?
Yeah, absolutely. Sarah, I've got the slides ready to share if you want to do that.
Yeah, I don't want to take over from people with if they've got questions about the contingency stuff, but because if there's other stuff that's important, this is a secondary issue, but I just wanted to give people the opportunity to know it was happening, really. There's anything else that people really want to question, anybody really wants to make sure they ask? Okay, fine. Yes, please, James, on that basis.
Okay, no problem. Do you think we've got time for this video, Sarah?
It's not very long. It's probably the best way to explain what the big conversation is, and then I'll just give people a quick chat about it, if that's all right. I'm hoping the sound works.
I think play it, James. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me know if it doesn't play properly.
Don't know if the sound actually, James.
Not getting the sound.
Okay.
Shall I try and put it on from YouTube from the website directly instead of through the PowerPoint?
Yeah, it might be helpful.
Big Conversation 2023.
Social care. In Nottinghamshire, lots of people need support to live their best life. Social care is personal, emotional, practical support for people who need it. It works alongside healthcare. The Care Act. The Care Act 2014 says that councils are responsible for social care within their area. Social care in Nottinghamshire. Nottinghamshire County Council know that everyone's social care experience is different and the system can feel complicated.
They want to find the best ways to do social care by listening to people and putting them first.
The vision.
Nottinghamshire Adult Social Care want every person in the county to live in the place they call home, with the people and things that they love in communities, where they look out for one another, doing the things that matter to them.
The vision for adult social care has been developed by a national organisation called Social Care Future.
The future.
Nottinghamshire County Council want to involve more people who draw on social care and their carers.
They want to rewrite their big plan, which is called the Adult Social Care Strategy.
The plan will show how social care in Nottinghamshire will change from how it is now to become more like the Social Care Future vision.
They want to make sure that the money they spend buys the support that people and their families want and need now and in the future. The big conversation.
They are having a big conversation. They will use the big conversation to ask people who use social care and their carers about the vision, the challenges, and what they want in the future.
They want to get this right, and I've asked an organisation called Community Catalysts and the local Our Voice co-production group to help.
There are some questions for people to think about. You can answer the questions by
coming to a listening event in your area. There are many events happening in February and March. Click on the link on this page to book a place.
Completing an online survey on this webpage.
Talking to us on the phone or face to face.
Inviting someone to come and meet your group.
The big conversation will take about a month.
It is part of a longer process to help develop the strategy.
It will involve a wide range of people.
What next? Everything that people tell us in the big conversation will be used by community catalysts to inform their report.
The report will be used to help make future plans.
Nottinghamshire County Council want people to stay involved after the big conversation and keep working with them to get this right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Helen. Don't worry about the slides. I'll
okay.
speak if that's all right. I wanted to so just for people who don't know me, I'm Sarah Craggs. I work in the co-production team at the County Council, and part of my role is to, I guess, try and get more people involved in helping to shape things. So, and have a say and let people know what they think. And particularly, I think the big conversation for me is about making sure our senior leaders are listening and hearing from people themselves. So certainly Marion, as a member of the Our Voice co-production group, has been quite instrumental in helping us to think about shaping the big conversation. We've had some events. There is a couple of surveys online, but what we're really, really keen to do is, because I know how busy carers are, getting to an event, filling in a survey, you know, it's not stuff people have time to do. So there are people that want to share their experiences of adult social care in Nottinghamshire, or the people that you support want to share their views of adult social care in Nottinghamshire. If people are part of a group, I'm happy to have a conversation and come out and talk to people about it and collect those views as part of it. Or equally, I'm happy to have a conversation on the phone with anybody as part of it. The idea of the big conversation is Community Catalysts are an independent organisation that are pulling the report together for us. And that's going to be being presented back to both our sort of senior leadership team and the Our Voice co-production group. And what we're hoping is we'll get some real actions that are coming back out of that. So I think that's probably enough. I'm very conscious of the time and wanting you to finish on time. But yeah, if people have got any thoughts about how we can reach, because we really do want to try and target as wide a range of people as possible. So we're trying to do it in as many different ways as we can, but we're learning, I guess, about what works and doesn't work around that. So yes, please get in touch. I'll make sure Carers Space have got my contact details and that stuff can be shared.
Lovely, thank you, Sarah. I'm just going to pop the web link to the big conversation in the chat if anyone wants to take it from there as well. And you'll find the dates for the other listening events and things on there. Gail, no, Dan's hand up first.
Just quickly, I just wanted to say that I think that we're struggling to get as many, well, we wanted to get as many people at the conversations as possible, as Sarah will have said, but I think at the moment we've got low numbers for the Bassetlaw event. Is that right, Sarah? I think Lindsay was sort of saying that Bassetlaw we need more. So anybody that's in that area, can you share, you know, details of that event around? It's at the Well in Retford on, remember the date, Sarah? It's next week, isn't it?
You're going to ask me to remember it. Oh, I'm not going to remember it, but I don't want. Yeah, and I equally don't want people to get hung up on an event as well, because I know that just doesn't work for some people. So we are having some events because they work for some people. There is a form online for some people to look at and fill in that works. But equally, if you just want to know more and aren't sure and want to have to share something, absolutely, we want to do that as well. So. And I'm going to have to look at when that is next week because I can't remember.
It's the second.
I think second. Sorry, I just remember 2nd of March. Yeah,
2nd of March. Thanks, Dan. Gail.
Yeah.
Hello. Good afternoon. Hello. One thing I would like to bring over. I'm going through a very rough time at the moment with my father, who has been poorly for the last 18 months. Is at end of life at the moment. Okay. Every time we have a conversation with social services, the first question they ask is he over the threshold? Soon as we say that, the door is closed. We don't necessarily know we're going to get help financially. That's not the case. It's to know what areas we can be signposted to get help. Because as soon as you phone a care home, have you got the house on the market? Don't necessarily want that straight away. People who are over the threshold need guidance as well, if that makes sense, and not to feel it's an awkward one, that they've worked hard all their lives and everything. I know the power of attorney comes into place, but from our experience, that comes in the last 2 days, especially the health and welfare one. As soon as he goes, he loses consciousness. Yes, we come in, can they make decisions for him? We want to fulfill his wishes, but we also want people to be aware that it's not always black and white, if that makes sense. And it's just my way of coming over. Please help people that are over the threshold. Don't close the door every time, as we have had ourselves. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It absolutely makes sense, Gail. And if there's stuff that, I mean, if you're okay with that, I'd absolutely like to include that as some feedback in
Yes,
the
please.
conversation stuff. So,
Yeah,
and
you.
if there's any other bit you want to add, I'll happily give you a call.
Okay.
You can
Well, I work at Pevsey Surgery, if that's any help to you. Okay. The next few days are not going to be good for me, so possibly will have to be another time if that's okay. But you are very, very welcome to give Pevsey Surgery. Say who you are. You can have my mobile number, and please call at any time. Okay. Thank you.
Will do. Thanks, Gail.
Thank you, Gail. Dan?
I was just going to add, and sorry that you have been having those experiences, Gail, but that really shouldn't happen in practice. You know, workers, yes, you know, that might be the case, but you shouldn't be sent away to say, oh, well, you're self-funded and, you know, there's nothing we can support you with, because that's absolutely not the case. You should be given advice and information and be supported with making those decisions if you need that. But obviously, you know, what will happen is, obviously, if you are over the sort of the thresholds, anything that we might sort of make commission on your behalf, you obviously have to be, you will be classed as a self-funder and pay full charge for any services that are provided. But certainly you shouldn't be, you know, sent away. I know from my own experience with my mother-in-law, we had exactly the same experience. So, you know, what should happen in practice, what should happen in theory doesn't happen in practice, if that makes sense. So, you know, it shouldn't happen, but we know that it is happening, and those sorts of conversations are being had. And as Sarah says, that is, you know,
I'm not saying everybody has. A few
no,
people.
no,
not everybody, but a lot of
there
them
is a
have.
theme of it. There is a
Yes.
theme of it. So, it shouldn't happen.
No,
So.
no. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Gail. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to hand to James. James is just going to do a keeping in touch bit just to finish the session off. Thanks, James.
Thanks, Helen. Yeah, thank you, everyone. I think that was a really interesting session, and I hope some people found it helpful. I think the best place to direct everyone to is the Carerspace website, I think, which, as Helen mentioned earlier, is just carerspacenotts.com. And over the next few days, we'll get the recording of this session uploaded onto there, and any resources that the speakers have or that anybody else has found, we will host on there. And on there as well, there's also a link to sign up for the mailing list if anybody isn't part of that at the moment, and a contact form which feeds into the email as well. So just feel free at any point to send topic suggestions for future meetings or questions about these topics or any topics really, and we'll try to get answers to you. And if we don't know the answer, we'll try and get in touch with somebody who does. Yeah, and there's also all our social links and things, social media links you can find on there. So just like to say thanks again to the speakers and everybody for coming along.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Hopefully see you again another time. Take care, everybody.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.